This is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be but me, your me, Louie T? Welcome to Lockdown Coverage, week number 15 in the National Football League. The Green Bay Packers taking on the Carolina Panthers. The bad man is back. Bad man, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Panthers defense coming for you, bad man. What you gonna do? And he struggled versus the Carolina Panthers. If you remember, in that historic 2015 season for this Panthers ball club, they destroyed the Packers before allowing Aaron Rodgers to bring them back within a score, finally putting them away and winning that football game, something like 36-29 or something along those lines. It was a shootout. Needed a 2-point conversion, needed a touchdown, something like that late in the game. But nonetheless, it was an ass whooping. And this Panthers defense, they did it again to the bad man as Aaron Rodgers came back in. I was a little disappointed in the game plan set forth by the Green Bay Packers in this game because with Aaron Rodgers out of the lineup, what did they do best? What did they do best? They ran the football. And it seemed like because Aaron Rodgers was back and he said, hey, I'm not back to save this football team. Don't rely on me to save this team. And that's what he was supposed to say. Set the bar and expectations low. I'm not here to save the team. I'm just looking to come back and try to help us get to the playoffs. But it seemed like Mike McCarthy thought he was going to do exactly that, come back and save the team. Because they ran it in this game, 15 times maybe? If that. I think their leading rusher had 8 carries. Aaron Jones. And it's not like he had 8 carries for 7 yards or 8 carries for 11 yards. It's like 8 for 39. I mean, he was averaging over 4 a pop. And so it's not like they were having no success running the football. Zero. Zilch. They've run it really well with Rodgers out. He comes back. And it's not like they were getting their ass whooped the entire game and they needed to abandon the run. They could have run the football. And you can run on Carolina. So I was really disappointed at the game plan coming in. 3 carries, 47 yards for Mr. Jones in this game. And he wasn't their leading rusher. I think Williams had the most carries in this game, but they should have run it more. But that being said, Rodgers threw it 45 times. And against this defense, which I think is okay, not great, still though, they get after the quarterback. Say what you want about this Panthers defense. Young secondary with some veterans that are still playing at a high level. One that I like, one that I don't care for, and then 2 young corners. Say what you want about the secondary. The linebackers are legit, and the front 4, they get pressure. And they got pressure on Rodgers. They hit him. They flushed him. They forced him into some errant throws. I thought he took too many chances down the field in double coverage, and he paid for it. Picked off by both corners once in this game. Picked off by Colin Jones over the middle of the field. And that was a really bad throw. Cobb was open. I've seen Rodgers hit that pass over the middle in his sleep. Underthrew that one severely. Anything over 25 yards in this game, and he just wasn't right. He was not right on those throws down the field. Because on 2 of those 3 interceptions, I thought he actually had a shot at getting the football to those receivers. The one that was picked off by Darryl Worley, no shot at completing that pass. Shouldn't have never even thrown it. But the one to Cobb over the middle that was picked off by Colin Jones, more air on that football, and he's got a chance to split the seam and maybe even go for 7 on that one. And then the one on the other sideline picked off by James Bradbury, a little bit more air on that one, and I think you might have a completion or at least an opportunity to have one. But in any event, he was off. He was off in this game. Credit the Panthers defense for forcing the issue. They hit him. They hit him a ton in this game. They threw it too much. 45 attempts for a guy coming off of a collarbone injury. His first game back against that defense? Are you insane? There was no balance in this game for me. I did not think the Packers had a balanced attack. And again, give credit to the Carolina Panthers. Let's start with the Panthers in this game and what they were able to accomplish. Let's start with their offense because they've been a little fun to watch over the last couple of weeks. And again, this is a Panthers offense that goes as Cam Newton goes. 4 touchdown passes in this game. They created some turnovers, which set up some short fields, and that's what they've done the last 2 weeks against Minnesota and Green Bay. A short field set up by turnovers. And Cam Newton and company have been able to take advantage. And then when they've had to drive the length of the field themselves, they've been able to do that. And it's been a nice mix of run and pass, and you got that in this game. And Cam Newton was exceptional in this game. And I love the exchange between he and Clay Matthews. Clay Matthews is apparently, as Cam Newton put it, "Oh, you've been watching film, huh?" He's yelling out, "Oh, wheel route! They're running the wheel route!" And the thing I hate about this is, so he calls out the play. Nobody even checks McCaffrey out of the damn backfield. Well, if he's telling you they're running a wheel, well, at least cover the damn wheel and get beat inside because you thought it was a wheel. Nobody went with this guy. He was wide ass open. Who is he talking to? Nobody? Did nobody get the memo? Hey, they're running the wheel. They're running the wheel. Oh, you've been watching film, huh? Okay, that's cool. Well, watch this. And he ran an arrow route instead of a wheel route. Walk-in touchdown. That was beautiful. But damn, can somebody go with Christian McCaffrey? He's only their most dangerous weapon in the red zone this year. Can somebody cover him? Damn. That was pathetic. But the Packers defensively have been pathetic for the vast majority of this season. So that's not surprising there. But Newton's performance in this game was exceptional. Like I said, 4 touchdown passes. No turnovers in this game. They, for the most part, did what they wanted to do on the offensive side of the football. Their problem was late in the game, they got too conservative, in my estimation. They felt like, okay, we're up 14. We got the game. We just like last week against Minnesota, remember, they were still throwing the football. They were a little aggressive. It got picked off, and bam, all of a sudden Minnesota's back in the game. This week, it was like, okay, we're going to stay conservative. We're going to make sure that we don't give the Packers a chance to get back in this game with a turnover. And so what happens is they make the Packers move it down the field, eat up clock to do so. They get in the end zone. And all they have to do is simply recover an onside kick, and they pretty much got the game won. They don't recover the onside kick. The Packers do, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, shit. You just effed up because they're going to go down. Aaron Rodgers, bad man alert. He's going to take these boys down the field, tie the game up. And if this thing goes to overtime, you're going to lose. And he was well on his way to doing that before Geronimo Allison was stripped of the football. Beautiful play by James Bradbury to go in the cookie jar. Yum, yum, eat him up. Yum, yum, eat him up. And go get a cookie out. And it's big-time football. Recovered by Mike Adams. Ball game. And Damiere Bird with a touchdown that the officiating in this game and the reviews really pissed me off in this game. The Damiere Bird touchdown, the ass cheek touchdown, which I hated. Either you caught the ball or you didn't. You know, the game is getting too technical. Same thing with the Pittsburgh Steelers game. The game is getting so technical now that we're analyzing ass cheeks in or out. To me, that shouldn't have been a touchdown. It was a touchdown, don't get me wrong. But instant replay, to me, was put in to correct calls like that, but you're taking the human element out of the game. Like, you bobbled the football, you had a chance to catch it, you didn't catch it, whatever. But the one that really pissed me off was at the end. It took them 5 minutes to figure out that that was a fumble. He caught the football, he took 3 steps, he got it poked out, it's a fumble. They lost. Why are we looking at that for 7 minutes? Keeping everybody in suspense when he fumbled. If they would have come back and told me he didn't complete the process of the catch, he didn't execute a football move, I would have lost it. Game is becoming too technical now. Anybody that was watching that game could see he caught it, he fumbled. End of the game, end of discussion, win for the Panthers. But in any event, big game for Damiere Bird. I think he had 2 touchdowns in this game. He stepped up huge for the Panthers, and they're going to need guys to step up. I saw 2 receivers for the Panthers fall down on their shoulders, one being Funchess, who returned to the game. The other, I'm not so sure if he returned to the game or not. So they're already thin at the position. And they may have gotten a little thinner now with another injury. We'll see. But Julius Peppers with another sack. This Panthers defense with another 3 takeaways. I'm telling you, man, this is a dangerous Panthers team. I don't know that they can deal with elite offenses, as we've seen with New Orleans. They struggle with those types of teams. And I don't know if they can handle a team that plays elite defense. Now, they moved it against Minnesota, but remember, Minnesota turned it over a ton in that game. And that's not Minnesota's MO. So I'd be curious to see what happens with Carolina if they are matched up against a team that can score it and put a little pressure on your offense and make them have to drive the length of the field without the aid of turnovers. I'd be anxious to see what happens in a situation like that. And whether that's Atlanta, if you win the division, or if you got to go to, let's say, you got to go to Los Angeles. I'd love to see that matchup because I think the Rams could actually take the Panthers because they score the football and their defense is good enough to chase Cam around and not allow him to run and extend plays, and they're good enough to force some takeaways against an offense that I think is very limited. Boy, was it good to see Grego! Hopefully he's back like cook crack. I mean, his presence on this team, they could use him in the worst way. With all the injuries to the receiver position and the lack of real viable options at the receiver position, boy, they could use some Grego. He was phenomenal in this game, and they need that from him down the stretch. If you're a Panthers fan, you pray that he stays healthy because his impact on this offense can't be measured. Boy, he was huge in this game. As you get to the Packers, too many turnovers, too many mistakes. I didn't love the game plan from the jump. I thought you should have run it more. But that being said, Aaron Rodgers just simply wasn't good enough. He wasn't good enough in this game. Again, credit the Panthers defense for that, for making plays. But he wasn't good enough. He underthrew receivers. He missed some throws that we know he's capable of making. The timing and rhythm was off. And to expect him to come back and will this team to a victory, had this been the Bears, yeah, he would have been able to come back and win. But it's not the Bears, it's the Panthers on the road. And so we were probably foolish to think that he was going to go into Carolina, a team that when he's healthy he struggles with, that him coming off of an injury, having not played in 2 months, we were foolish probably to think that he was going to come in and light the Panthers up and lead them to a victory. But for all of the mistakes he made, he had the ball with a chance to tie it up late and his receiver fumbled. So, and he lost Devontae Adams, speaking of which. Thomas Davis has been suspended 2 games. He's going to appeal. They're going to reduce that to a 1-game suspension. And I fully expect him to serve that 1-game suspension next week. And I'm glad that it's next week because I think they've got a winnable game on the road or at home next week. And then they go out on the road for Atlanta to wrap up their season. So they may not need him next week, which, it sucks that he's getting suspended because he was remorseful after the hit. You saw him on the sidelines. He felt bad about it. It wasn't because he cost his team 15 yards. He felt bad that a man was on the ground and not moving. He felt bad about that. Thomas Davis is a good guy. He didn't win the Walter Payton Award for no reason. He's a good dude. He didn't want to hurt anybody. He made a bad decision to hit him the way that he did, but the intent wasn't to hurt anybody, and he felt bad. So I hate the fact that he's getting suspended for this. He's going to appeal. It's going to get reduced, and he's going to get a game. But in any event, Aaron Rodgers did most of that without having Devontae Adams at his disposal, who has been the best receiver for the Packers this season. So this offense wasn't good enough. And now that you're out of playoff contention, I don't see any reason for Aaron Rodgers to play next week at home versus Minnesota. And I don't see any reason for him to play in Week 17 at Detroit. So I think we've seen the last of Aaron Rodgers this season, and for good reason. You don't need anything to happen to that collarbone to where he's nursing an injury and rehabbing instead of preparing for the upcoming season. So if I'm the Packers, I shut down my most valuable player in my franchise's history, arguably, obviously of the last decade. I shut him down, and I see what Brett Hundley can do in the final 2 games of the season, and then we start making preparations for 2018 with this loss. Defensively, you're just not good enough. You don't get enough pressure on the quarterback. You don't do enough to affect change. You created no turnovers in this game. You're not good enough on defense. And that's been a problem the last 4 years or so. You just haven't been good enough on defense. And it's a problem. And it came back to bite you in this game. But nonetheless, Panthers get the win 31-24. They made it interesting late by not recovering an onside kick. But they get it done 31-24. 2 big wins at home the last 2 weeks against NFC North opponents. They get to 10-4 on the season with this win. And for all intents and purposes, they're going to the playoffs. They've clinched the playoff berth. They're not going to lose 2 straight to finish up this season. Not in my mind, they're not. And so I think they've got Tampa at home and then on the road for Atlanta. If that is in fact the case, they're beating Tampa and they're going to get to 11 and they're going to ensure a playoff berth. And then I don't see them winning the division. I don't see them winning the division because New Orleans is going to win one of their final 2 games. They own the tiebreaker over the Panthers by sweeping them. So they're not going to win the division. It's either going to be Atlanta or New Orleans who wins the division, but Carolina's getting in. And at one point in the season, I didn't think they were going to get in. I thought they were going to be the odd team out. They're getting in. And once they get in, they're going to be a tough out in the NFC playoffs. Meanwhile, Green Bay, disappointing season. Aaron Rodgers' injury really impacted them. They're at 7-7. And with Aaron Rodgers healthy, there may have been another 2 wins in there somewhere, maybe even 3. And they're sitting here at 10-4 right now instead of 7-7, maybe 9-5. But in any event, they're in a position to make the playoffs. Instead, they're on the outside looking in. Pretty disappointing, but injuries can impact your season, and it did for the Packers in a major way, losing their best player in Aaron Rodgers for a vast majority of the season and costing them probably 2 or 3 wins in the process as they fall 31-24 at Carolina to pretty much drop them out of playoff contention. Let's get to any comments that may be out there. Vincent Coe says, haha, did you see Cam was talking to a Packers defender? He was talking to Clay Matthews. You've been watching film, huh? Well, watch this. And he threw a touchdown to McCaffrey. Got to admit, Cam is lit. That was funny. That was hilarious. That was great stuff. Vincent Coe says, yo, Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams is the guy for the Packers. I feel like Aaron Jones can make more big plays, though. I like Aaron Jones a lot. And before he got injured, I thought that he was well on his way to becoming the guy. But they've got 2 backs. I thought they did a phenomenal job of drafting at the running back position this past year's draft. They drafted 3 guys. I think they like all 3 of them, including Devontae Mays. But the big 2 are Jones and Williams. And I think Jones, like you said, has the bigger big play ability. So we'll see how they handle that situation. MC89 says, do you think Diddy has a chance of owning the Panthers or not? Yep, he's got the money. And they could put together an ownership group. And I've heard that Colin Kaepernick and some other people want in on Diddy's bid to try to get the Panthers. It's in the infancy stages. The announcement was just made yesterday that Jared Richardson was going to sell the team due to his situation with sexual misconduct. So it's really early, and more will come of this situation. And you'll have more people that are interested in buying an NFL franchise. Steph Curry, who is a hometown guy from the Carolina area, he wants in with the Diddy group. So we'll see what happens. Everyone's talking right now. It sounds good to throw your name in the hat. But when the money starts being announced as to how much it's going to cost and what you have to give up, we'll see if guys are serious about forking over the cash or not. Cloud says, well, I hope the bad man does play next week. Maybe he wants revenge. I don't think he's playing. I don't think he's going to be able to help your you're being selfish right now because you want him to help out your Eagles. You're not getting the help that you need. Brett Hundley's going to play, and they're going to lose to the Minnesota Vikings next week. Vincent Coe says, is Adams the #1 guy for the Packers now? I haven't seen Nelson in a minute. He is currently, but I think when Aaron Rodgers returns on a full-time basis, you'll see Jordy Nelson return to his status as the #1 guy in Green Bay. I think that they've got a 3-headed monster there, though. Anybody can be the #1 guy any given week between Cobb, Adams, and Nelson. But with Rodgers out of the lineup, Adams became the guy because Cobb and Nelson became invisible. They weren't even getting the rock. Jordy Nelson hasn't scored a touchdown since week 5 when Aaron Rodgers got injured. So it just goes to show you how those guys haven't been getting the rock. Reese says, that wasn't Aaron Rodgers, Lou. I refuse to believe it. That was someone disguised as Aaron Rodgers. Didn't even know who the hell that was. The man was still banged up. They said his collarbone wasn't 100% healed, and you could tell. He didn't have the zip on his football. He didn't have the velocity, and he wasn't able to make those down-the-field throws we've been seeing him make throughout the course of his career. Reese says, Doug Martin is a healthy scratch. Peyton Barber is starting, Lou. They're finally listening to us. I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, the guy's playing exceptional football. He's making plays. There's a changing of the guard at the running back position, and it took them a few more weeks than it would have taken us, but they've seen the light, and they made the right decision. And we'll see what Peyton Barber does tonight against a very aggressive and fast and physical Atlanta Falcons defense on Monday night. In any event, Packers fall to the Panthers 31-24. Panthers get the win, go to 10-4, and for all intents and purposes, for me, they've clinched a playoff berth with that win. I don't see how they're going to be denied a playoff spot after getting to 10 wins. For the Packers, they're now pretty much eliminated from playoff contention at 7-7. And I don't see any reason for Aaron Rodgers to play the rest of the season. No need in risking a guy who admitted that his collarbone isn't 100% healthy. You rest him up, and you get ready for 2018. And you see if you can't bounce back and make a run next year. But nothing's to come of this season. No need in risking the most important player in your franchise for 2 meaningless games down the stretch. So that's going to do it for me with this particular game on Lockdown Coverage. I've still got a couple of games to break down, including the massacre out in Seattle. And Jimmy Garoppolo goes for 3 in a row versus the Titans at home. Who knew Jimmy G was really a G at the quarterback position for the 49ers? So all that and more to come here on Lockdown Coverage. Don't you go anywhere. Got a lot more to break down. If you haven't already subscribed to the Louie T Network, go ahead and make that happen. Hit that subscribe button and become a member of the Louie T Network. I'll be right back in a second, so don't you go anywhere. More Lockdown Coverage to come.